before the U.S. Attorney's Office felt that he was worthy of indicting. But one of those Barrett rifles that was involved in that case was used to shoot down a Mexican, I'm not sure if it was military or a police helicopter, but there were fatalities.
How do we do this without, affecting the rights of United States citizens who are just purchasing guns? How do we do this in a way that's effective and doesn't, step on anyone's Second Amendment right? And how do we do this to protect, these innocent Mexicans out there in Mexico who are at risk at all times because of the cartels battling and fighting over with U.S. weapons? What's the answer for this?
It's complex. But like I said before, one of the ways is when you catch people who the dealers are calling you saying, hey, man, something suspicious is going on here. And you catch them and they confess, yeah, I'm not buying the gun for me. I was buying it for somebody. And yeah, I know they're bringing it to Mexico. Prosecute them. I can tell you there was a recent case in Phoenix where a woman walked into a dealer with over $100,000 in cash. She was unemployed. She was buying Barrett rifles and belt-fed rifles as well. And the U.S. Attorney's Office was punting. They didn't want to take the case. I mean, she admittedly was bringing guns down to Mexico to the cartels, barracks again, and belt-fed rifles. So, I mean, if you're not going to prosecute people where there's no deterrence, people are going to do stupid things. That's number one. Number two is, look, the Mexican government does not do, like I said earlier, they don't do a very good job of stopping cars going south. We stop stuff coming north all the time, and things still get through. I understand that. But, I mean, if the aduana is not going to be held to account, or trained better or better armed or whatever, then, that's another area that needs to improve. But I mean, those two things alone would have a significant impact on the number of weapons making their way into Mexico. Now, here's the other thing too. Truth. People need to start speaking the truth, because I know that there's some discussions here that about 1 million guns a year being smuggled into Mexico. That's the anti-Second Amendment crowd who don't want people to have guns, making a lot of noise. There's no way it's 1 million a year. I talk to people in ATF. I talk to people on the Mexican side of the border that work for ATF, and they believe the number's maybe 250,000, maybe a little bit more, but that million number is grossly exaggerated, and that's to make the gun look bad and not necessarily portray the trafficker as the problem.
Interesting. I've never thought of that. Yeah, I could see that number be exaggerated. What's interesting is that we had someone on here that she was part of a reporter that broke a story of a small city. I forget which town it was in. I think it was Indiana or something, or Wisconsin. That's what I think it was, Wisconsin. But just in that town alone, they sold almost 8 different Barrett rifles and little small guns. And then eventually you got like, man, there's a lot of Barrett rifles being bought in this little town, and they identified it. Obviously, eventually, the whole ring of it kind of was uncovered. But, from my experience, just Barrett rifles, those don't get used as much as like an AR platform does, right? A Barrett is more of it's a long distance thing. It's not as effective as like an AR platform in certain things. So as long as these Barrett rifles are getting purchased, to me, I don't know if there's much of a threat, in my opinion, I mean, again, a Barrett rifle is dangerous no matter what, but I'm always concerned more about the AR platforms, the AK-47s, because it's just a casualty producing weapon at a high rate, and it can be used by anyone and pretty effective, whoever's pulling that trigger. And so that's more of the concern for me.
The cartels, they're certainly, I mean, the AK is their weapon of choice. They like the AR-15 as well. They are looking for the Barretts. Because again, like you look at CJNG, they're riding around those armored vehicles. They can utilize the Barrett. In fact, I know that one of the Barrett rifles that was smuggled during the Fast and Furious case was, again, straw purchaser. In fact, it's a funny story. It's not funny, actually. One of the straw purchasers in Operation Fast and Furious bought over 800 firearms. Not in one shot, obviously, before the U.S. Attorney's Office felt that he was worthy of indicting. But one of those Barrett rifles that was involved in that case was used to shoot down a Mexican, I'm not sure if it was military or a police helicopter, but there were fatalities. Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, so they are using the Barrett, but I agree with you. Look, it's not a close quarter combat weapon. It's not something that's easy to handle. If you got to basically, be in a sniper perch to use that weapon, but, they're seeking them. And the thing is, the Barrett sells for $7,500 and up here. So a straw purchaser buying a Barrett might make $1,000, $2,000, right? for lying on that form and handing that gun over. But in Mexico, that gun is selling for $50,000-$60,000 because the cartels have bottomless pockets, man. So they're not afraid to throw money around. And so that's why straw purchasing is a problem, is because the purchasers are making a little bit of money. They know they're not going to get prosecuted. So until people start going to jail for lying on that form and handing guns over to traffickers, it's just going to continue. And the problem is not every U.S. attorney's office, and this you know already, not every U.S. attorney's office wants to prosecute these cases. And look, some of them don't want to prosecute any cases. Some of them are just flat out lazy. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah. What's the process of buying a rifle? What part of the ATF has an involvement in people purchasing rifles? Is there anything at all?
Well, look, you can buy a rifle. You can buy several rifles. The thing that happened is and this is one of the things that I think actually helped drive Operation Fast and Furious on the political side, why the White House and everybody was the Obama White House was kind of not holding anybody accountable.
What's going on, y'all? I'm not sure if you know this, but Borderland Narcosis is sponsored by First Form. First Form is a wellness supplement company. And, I've been with them for about 7 years. And I've been with them for that long because I truly believe in not just the product, but the people who own the company. They are a culture that just believes in your health. And so if you guys haven't tried it before, I would recommend you go and check out the Formula One Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Add a little bit of a ignition to that, and you'll have exactly what you need for your post-workout drink. This is something I've used for a very long time. When I'm in the best shape of my life, it's always been because I have a nice regimen of the First Form products. So if you guys are interested, go check them out at firstform.com/borderland. Okay, use our link. It is the #1 stphorm.com/borderland. And if you order over $75, you get free shipping. And if you're new to the site, you get a free app for 30 days. So go check it out. Again, thank you so much for all the support. See you soon.